So I've mentioned some of the specific PSRs, but I wanted to just give you an overview of what else we have and what's in the pipeline for PSRs. There are a few in draft, but I don't think they need much refinement before they become an official recommendation. So we talked about 0. PSR 0 is for basic auto-loading. This is an absolute minimum, and I would now recommend that you go for PSR 4 instead. That just takes into account some slightly better practices around the way that we name files, classes, and it requires namespaces. PSRs 2 and 3 I just covered in the previous section. PSRs 1 and 2 both have standards available built into PHP Code Sniffer, and they describe how your code should be laid out, how things should be named. And the aim there is to make code which is useful and understandable by everybody and is also easy to read. PSR 3 is alive and well, and this is a logger interface. So it describes what methods should be available in anything that offers a logging interface. We had a little look at Monolog earlier, and that is definitely currently the best implementation of a logging tool for PHP. Monolog relies on the PSR 3 interfaces, and it extends those and offers a really good logging interface. What this means is that if you use Monolog and you type hint for that logger interface, if you decide Monolog's not really awesome and you want to use the next shiny logging tool that comes along, you can just switch them out. So we're starting to see more of these interface type PSRs, which are just describe how the outside of a feature should look, and allow us to move between competing ones, or just upgrade if one project gets abandoned and another one becomes more fabulous. Currently in draft, we have the standards for PHP Documenter. Again, I expect the tools to integrate quite tightly with this standard when it becomes official, so that you can very easily check that you have the correct documentation that you would need for your project. PHP Documenter is a fabulous tool. If you're not familiar with it, it reads the comments in your code. You've probably seen the notation. We do /** as a block before each class and before each method. We denote variables with an @param. You can denote return values, which exceptions might be thrown, and so on. And PHP Documenter can parse all of that and give you a nice output. Having that as a standard, I think, opens the way for having alternative documentation solutions, but which will all work against the one set of documentation. So as long as you get the documentation right, all of the tools will work against it. So the standard for that's really nice. Similarly, we have draft specifications open for caching and for messaging. The HTTP messaging, probably Guzzle is the reference interface for that, and caching as well. The aim, again, is to make a known way of exposing this functionality. So interface is the right word. It's a contract. These things will be available to you. And then if you want to switch to a competitor or change libraries or pick something from a different framework, add an extension onto your caching, then you've got that option. And that's where the PSRs are aiming to go. They're aiming to let us pick the best of the available libraries, whichever framework they were originally written for, because they'll all be able to implement these common standards and be useful to PHP applications everywhere.